So you're a line cook, you want to be a sous chef, you're not sure how to do it. It seems like being a sous chef is just like way the fuck out there. Now, a lot of people will tell you that if you're brand new to the industry, you shouldn't be worried about learning to become a sous chef right away. You should just be focusing on your own skills. Now, that's partially true, but with the caveat. See, I don't believe that is 100% accurate. I think that what you should be doing is you should have executive chef, sous chef jobs in mind while you are working as a line cook, and think about the skills that those take and start working on those skills now and use your time as a line cook to practice. It's like handing the keys to somebody and expecting them to know how to drive a car when they've never driven a car before in their life. And you have seen sous chefs and executive chefs in positions like this before, where they are handed the keys to the kingdom and they don't know how to run anything. They don't know what they're doing. There are a few skills that you can work on now that as an executive chef, they will be looking at line cooks to see if they have these skills and if they are worth promoting up into that sous chef position. So the first one is going to be technical skill. An executive chef is going to be looking to see if you know how to saute, grill, bake, roast, if you know the equipment inside and out, if you know the temperatures of all the equipment that's supposed to be, if you know how to take the broiler apart and clean it, if you do maintenance on the line by cleaning the equipment and sweeping and mopping without having to be told or without bitching and complaining about it, and technical skills as far as how you handle a knife and that you know your way around a kitchen and they don't feel like they need to hold your hand. Another one is time management. So you're going to be responsible as a sous chef for managing the kitchen staff and ensuring that tasks are completed on time. If you are having issues with time management right now with the less responsibility of a line cook, then an executive chef isn't going to see that as a net positive for becoming a sous chef later on. So having great time management skills, being able to have something going in the oven while you're sauteing something else and something boiling in the water, being able to do all this kind of stuff at once, multitask, you're not really, people burn shit every now and then, shit happens, but generally speaking, they can see that your workflow is something that you fit a lot of productivity into this space because you know how to manage your time well. And the next one is communication. Executive chefs are going to be looking for someone that can communicate properly. I've talked about having pre-service meetings. I've talked about having tag-ups, one-on-ones with people, being able to write emails when you need to. If your place believes in whatever steps for disciplinary action, that you can actually take those out, that you're willing to speak up during meetings. They're also going to be seeing how this might apply to you as a line cook is your ability to communicate on the line to everybody else. Are you communicating your orders effectively? Are you giving me callbacks when I call things out? That would be an example of communication. Inventory management. This is something that you will need to develop over time, whether or not you have an inventory system, whether you follow prep sheets or whatever. Start being conscious about everything that's in the walk-in, the freezer, the dry storage. Ask questions about inventory. Maybe if they let you even do it, like show an interest in that, and that'll be part of them seeing like, oh, they have an interest in learning inventory. I wonder if they have, you're showing all of these things all at once, and then you're also showing an interest in inventory. These are all things you can do without just being a kiss ass. Because I'll tell you right now, as an executive chef, I do not like people that try to be a kiss ass but can't even do their job properly. Knowing how to handle situations where you may not have an ingredient and you need to substitute something out. One easy example is, say you're out of sour cream. A line cook with a good working knowledge of what they have on hand and with the other skills, like having technical skills, knows that they could probably substitute heavy cream and lemon juice and thicken that up into a kind of sour cream, which will get you by until the truck gets there. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing, right? So a sous chef should also be creative. You should be able to come up with menus, with specials, with things that show that you're thinking the way that a chef would think, and being able to apply all of those other things like technical skill, showing that you have a good palate, plate presentation, all of these things all at once to create awesome menus. That would show an executive chef that you have the creativity in order to handle doing a special on a certain night. Creativity is definitely something that is a part of a job, unlike some of other jobs like a desk job where you're just sitting on your ass all day staring at a computer screen. One thing that will impress customers and guests is what they see on the plate, because they're really there for an experience. So part of that experience is the food that they're eating. And if they're just coming there for something they can get anywhere else, so why should they come to your restaurant? You should also have an attention to detail when you make your plates, making sure that there's no fingerprints on the rims of the plates, not abusing your plate with garnish like parsley, not just slopping everything on the plate, being meticulous about your station, clean as you go. All of these different things that show that you are paying attention to the detail around you. Attention to detail. You should be able to spot mistakes and correct them and know how to properly coach people that are working underneath you. Nothing pisses me off more than somebody in a position of leadership that micromanages and treats the people underneath them like they are literally under them, pointing out small things that don't really matter and making them into a big deal that they don't need to be made into. And the last one is leadership. A sous chef needs to be a strong leader. You need to be able to motivate and inspire the kitchen staff. And importantly, you should be able to lead by example. You shouldn't expect anything from your crew that you aren't willing to do yourself. If you're going to have them go and clog the men's toilet because all the servers keep throwing up and they can't do it, or whatever, if you're going to have them do a nasty job, you need to at least be willing to do that yourself. One way that you can set a good, positive workplace culture is by leading by example. Because when you start demanding things from the people that are working with you, from your staff, they already know that you're asking them to do things that you do all the time, and there's probably a reason why you're having them do the thing that they're doing, rather than just arbitrarily assigning tasks and then micromanaging and nitpicking them, right? Being a leader, leading by example, showing them that you are strong, being the calm one in the storm. When everything else is going off the rails and the dining room is full and everybody's freaking out, you're the one getting everything in order and making sure that service runs smooth. And if the cooks are screwing up in service, it's on the sous chef. They need to be able to handle that. So with all of these things combined, these are elements of being a good sous chef. Some of you may be thinking, well, how do I work on those as a line cook? Those are all the things I need to do, but how do I get started? You can start them in smaller ways. And one of the most important things to remember in all of this is that nobody is going to hand you keys to a car and expect you to know how to drive the same day when you've never driven before in your life. That would be extremely irresponsible. Unfortunately, there are people that are in positions of leadership right now that don't know how to drive, but they're driving the car around. If you can demonstrate that you know how to drive by the time you get into that role, you're going to be above and beyond all of these people. These are all things that you can work on right now. When someone's doing inventory, you can ask them questions about inventory. You can look at the inventory sheets. You can ask to be responsible for doing the prep list. Little things like that. Maybe randomly you can start asking questions about how much things cost. Technical skills. You can work on your chopping skills. Ask to work on stations that you've never worked on before. You've never done grill, you've always been on sauté, so do that. Or you've always been on salad, ask to be on sauté or grill, ask to be trained on all of it if they aren't doing that already, which they should be, but ask them if they are not. Sometimes when it comes to things that you're being trained on, you need to be assertive and demand that training from them. Now, I'm not saying go be a dick about it. I'm trying to figure out a less kind of shitty way of saying this, but sometimes leadership doesn't know what they're doing. Usually, the things that they don't know what they're doing applies to training. So they may have made a menu item 100,000 times, and then they just say, here, go make this. You need to be an advocate for yourself to be trained correctly on how to do everything. Is this how you want it? If this is not how you want it, then show me how you want it, or explain to me what I did wrong so I can correct it. Seek out that training. With communication, obviously, as a line cook, you're not going to be running meetings. You can speak up during meetings about things that maybe you've noticed that aren't like little nitpicky, stupid things that nobody cares about. You can communicate in the kitchen by making sure that you're on point on your call-outs. You can ask to run inter-expo, so you're reading off the tickets and directing the kitchen. That's a really good place to start too. Creativity. Literally just do R&D, whether that's at your house or whether they allow for it in the restaurant. Start coming up with some specials that you can run. See something that you want to do online. You saw a YouTube video where somebody did this and take that idea, make it your own. I don't literally mean copy paste the recipe. You saw an idea for a certain type of burger. Well, make it your own recipe. Do things to it that you think would make it even better, and see if you could put it on the menu. When I say leadership, leading by example is something that you can do right now. When new employees get hired, you could take charge of training them and showing them how to do things. You can be the calm one in the storm when everything else is going off the rails. You want to be so good at all of these things with leadership, attention to detail, all the other ones that I listed before. You want to be so good at these that people are coming up to you instead of the sous chef because they trust your opinion, they trust your input, they think that you have good guidance. And you'll see this start to happen. People will come up to you and ask you, hey, did they want this cut this way? Hey, in this recipe it says this. Did they mean this? Blah, 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 blah. Those people will start coming up to you and asking you questions. That's how you know that you're on your way. The number one thing to remember is that if you want the sous chef position and you know that it's coming open and it's going to be available, you have to pursue it. Don't just sit on your ass and wait for them to come to you and ask you if you want to be a sous chef. Push for it. Apply for that position. If the restaurant put the application out online, apply for that position. Talk to the executive chef. Talk to the GM, whoever you need to. Be an advocate for yourself, not just in your training, but in moving up in your career. Don't ever expect them to recognize you and move you up just out of the goodness of their own heart. If you're new to the channel, I do have some videos that should be popping up right about now. I really want to help as many new line cooks as possible. So if you are experienced and you stumbled across this video and happen to make it to the end, share this with somebody that maybe doesn't have as much experience. Share the Restaurants Basics playlist that I have up. And as always, if you have questions or comments, whatever, leave them down below. I read all the comments, I respond to them, or I even make videos about them like I did here. This is the second video in a row that I've made based off of a question. Also, check the description. I have a Facebook group that I'm trying to start up. I got about 25 people in there right now. I've got a spread shop, a bunch of other stuff down in there. But otherwise, you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.